ill lieu. When I say ill lieu, what exactly it is? That is called substitute. Now, in the public company and the private company, the minimum subscription was for a private it is 1 lakh rupees, not less than minimum subscription mentioned in the prospectus, one of the directors. So we have the board of directors in that. If one of the directors will be there, whenever you want to start any of the public company, you should have this particular certificate that is called. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Abhilash Chandra from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to the next session of Companies Act. Now, this first chapter is always called a base chapter in all the subjects. So, you are supposed to know in depth about the base or the basic of the chapters. So, here in this session, we're gonna go with commencement of business. Now, the last session you went with the incorporation, that is, there are chances if a company go with two of the certificate, that is the birth certificate, what we call that as a incorporation certificate, and there is also one more certificate which is needed to start a business in a public company which has raised the share capital. Now, what exactly the second certificate is? The second certificate is called as certificate of commencement. Only after certificate of commencement you can start a public company, whereas for a private company, if you have the birth of certificate, that is a certificate of incorporation, you can just start the private company. But whereas when you start a public company, you need to have two documents, that is two certificates, which are like this. So the commencement of business, what exactly it is? A public company, see here, I'll tell you here, students, what the thing is. You should always remember that the public company, when it goes with, cannot commence business without obtaining from the registrar a certificate called certificate of commence business. That means it should be registered in your brain, saying that whenever you want to start any of the public company, you should have this particular certificate that is called commencement of business certificate. And what exactly this commencement of business certificate will carry? They'll again scrutinize. Who will scrutinize? That is the registrar. The registrar will scrutinize everything, and then he will feel that if this company is going with all legal documents, now according to 2013 Act, they will give a commencement certificate. And that is how the company will start running the process. Here what happens is the conditions we need to know: how and when, why, and what all are needed for the commencement certificate to get legalized in the eyes of registrar. So these are the following topics which I'll be covering. That is, these are the mandatory things which should be there. Only then the commencement certificate can be granted. The first one is a prospectus. Now, please understand what is prospectus. For a private company, prospectus is not needed because you will not be calling any of the public people. You will only call your private associates, friends, relatives, or people who have money. You will go and talk to them. But whereas public company, what does, there is no restriction for membership. So what happens is you need to issue something called prospectus to the general public. Or statement, ill lieu. When I say ill lieu, what exactly it is? That is called substitute. That is called ill lieu. Now, there are few statements which are the substitutes of prospectus. That's why the company goes with prospectus, or they go with statements of prospectus. Has to be filed with the registrar of companies. Now, there is a person called the registrar. Now, you are supposed to go to the registered office and then get it compiled, and you are supposed to issue them what? Prospectus, as well as or you can go with statement, that is a substitution of prospectus. So first thing is prospectus is mandatory. Second one is the number of share allotted is not less than. That means you should always calculate the shares, how much you are going for allotment. not less than minimum subscription mentioned in the prospectus. That means when you go for the allotment of commencement certificate, you are supposed to always check that what is your minimum subscription and what exactly you are allotting the shares. Now what happens here is the number of share allotted should not be less than minimum subscription. So you should know what exactly a minimum subscription is. Now minimum subscription means it is the minimum amount which is been raised while issuing the capital. So when you issue the capital, what happens is you should have minimum amount, and that is what is called minimum subscription. So that is how you are supposed to calculate. The next one is the directors. Now understand, when you list a public company, what happens is you need to follow the criteria of 2013 Companies Act. 2013 Companies Act. Earlier, what used to happen is before 2013, they used to go and they used to check this 1956 Companies Act. Now 1956 is not there. Whatever is the updated version is there, it is all 2013. So we should check what is the 2013 Companies Act says according to the directors. Now for a private company, minimum directors should be 2, and for a public company, the minimum directors should be 3. So what here happens is the directors have taken up and paid up. Now paid for their qualification shares. The amount paid on a share by them is not less than the amount paid by other members. Now again, you are supposed to check. You can't make some Tom, Dick, Harry to be the director. You are supposed to check who the director is, what is his role, how much he has taken the shares. Now, what are the other members are doing? Now, the members, when I tell you, students, please understand. For a private company, the members, the minimum members are 2 and the maximum members are 200, right? So, for a private company, earlier it was 2 and maximum was 50 in 1956. Now the article have changed, the acts have changed. Now the 2013 act says for a private company, the minimum numbers are 2, that is the members, and the maximum members are 200. Whereas for a public company, the minimum members are 7 and maximum members are unlimited. When you understand this, then you read out the same statement here. The directors have taken up, right? The directors, there are say 3, 4, 5, 6, but not less than 3 in a public company. Paid for their qualification share. I'll tell you what exactly a qualification share is all about. Now you have learned about equity share, preference share, and you have also learned about debentures. Now in the way qualification shares also, I'll tell you what exactly those shares are called as. The amount paid on a share by them is not less than the amount paid by other members. That means he should actually go with more shares than the other members. Next, there are a few more which are there, that is the declaration. Now understand, here somebody is going for declaration. Declaration that no money is liable to become refundable to applicants for shares for reason of failure on the part of company to apply. Now understand, this is what the declaration you are supposed to give. That is, we know that there is a characteristics of a company, that is separate legal entity. The same way here also you need to declare that no money is liable to become refundable. Then there is one more declaration, a declaration by one of the director or the secretary. Now understand the importance of directors and secretary. When we go with BOD, that is board of directors, we have one more person called secretary. Now secretary is a person who will be in charge totally from A to Z. He'll be or she'll be totally in charge of the entire company's affair. Their signature is very much needed. And here what happens is our secretary in the whole time to the effect that all conditions regarding the commencement of business have been complied with. So without a proper declaration of the director or the secretary in the whole, you cannot get the commencement certificate. So you should already know that who is your director and who is your company secretary, and they should actually go for the signatory things. An application must be made by the company to the register of companies requesting him to agent the business commencement certificate. So that is what the letter you are supposed to draft, and you are supposed to give it as a request. So these are the things which are very, very mandatory for getting a commencement of business certificate. The next one is minimum subscription. That is whenever you go with issue of capital shares. So that is what the minimum amount which you require. Now in the public company and the private company, the minimum subscription was, for a private it is 1 lakh rupees, and for a public it is 5 lakh rupees. Now in the 2013 Act, they have also revised for real estate companies and other businesses, which I'll be explaining you in the second and third chapter, where we will learn more about what are the forms of business and what the Company Act has given the provisions for all these businesses. Also we will learn. So here when we go with this minimum subscription, the minimum subscription is the minimum amount which in the opinion of the directors or signatories to the memorandum is required to commence business. So if you don't have minimum subscription in your list and you are going for the commencement certificate, you will never get it. That's what the reason you are supposed to go with signatories. Now who are the signatories? People who can sign and it has a validity and it has a value. So only those people are called as signatories. Now majorly we have board of directors are the signatories here. In the case of public company, the registrar will issue the certificate of commence business only when the amount raised by allotting share. So you need to see that you will raise the allotted share amount is not less than the amount equivalent to the minimum subscription. So here it should not be less than the minimum subscription mentioned in the prospectus. So whatever you write in the prospectus, you should always keep it in a mind that how much you are writing and how much you can actually take. Now there are many companies which has gone with a failure only while drafting a commencement certificate request. What has happened? They would have given in the prospectus something more money. Now because of uncertainty and risk, what happened when they go for listing, they have not taken those money from the minimum subscription. So what happens here is their clearance will not happen. So please understand, you should know that how much you can raise and how much you are supposed to go with. The next one is the certificate of commencement of business. Here you need to understand the registrar after receiving the declaration of compliance, with the provision of section 149. So there is a section called section 149 from the secretary or one of the directors. So we have the board of directors. In that, if one of the directors will be there and he can help us, then it can happen. Along with the required filling fees, will scrutinize the declaration, and if satisfied, now understand it is all in the hands of registrar, that if he is satisfied, will issue the certificate of commencement of business. So all these things, when you understand, you may feel it is all easy and we can list the company in a private company or a public company. But let me tell you, the documentation goes in a huge documents and the statements. But here in 2013 Companies Act, they have made it very clear, anybody whoever fulfills these conditions, these are the minimum criteria. If you finish these criteria, you can list your company in a private company as well as in a public company. So thank you so much, students. If you have any doubt regarding this chapter, this session, you can just feel free to call us. We are always there to help you. I'll see you when I see you.